Today we're using the absolute worst exotic in the Division 2.
Let me guess, the Merciless Exotic rifle?
Yup.
Ugh, it handles like crap, no real damage talent, and it sounds like I'm shooting a tin can. I want my money back.
But we discovered a 3-part formula to cracking the Merciless code for the best possible build. And thanks to the new gear we received in year 6, now the Merciless feels better than ever. And it's actually amazingly effective. Can you believe it?
In the quiet words of the Virgin Mary. Come again?
Today, we're gonna show you how to make the most effective build for the Merciless Exotic.
Yeah, right. I gotta see you try.
When you look at the Merciless, you're probably like,
yeah, look at this badass gun. 500% weapon damage, 500% amp damage, and explosions. What can beat that? Let's blow shit up, then go eat some meat.
You had me at Meat Tornado.
Then you pulled the trigger.
Hey, wait a minute. Am I being punked? Oh my god, where's Ashton?
Just listen to how it sounds. The enemy is more likely to call it cute than actually fear it. But here's the real joke. Hitting a target that's standing directly in front of you, you'll be convinced the devs are screwing with you.
Are you taking a piss?
I mean, what is it going to take? And when you finally get your stacks,
there we go. You fucking happy? Come on.
if I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me to make a Merciless build,
I like saying no. It lowers their enthusiasm.
but with the new gear, I had to try. So I took the Merciless to my build lab where me and a bunch of banditos broke the Merciless code again.
Do you know what you're doing?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I do.
The perfect build formula for the Merciless accounts for handling, power, and survivability.
By the way, why are we wearing bras on our heads?
It's ceremonial. Now shut up.
Handling is most important.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Because if you can't land a shot, what else matters? So that's where we started. The problem with the Merciless is that with continuous fire, the barrel goes up and up and up. Because of this, most users, unfortunately, overspec weapon handling for the Merciless,
Don't do that.
which in turn weakens the weapon, and power is the second most critical component of the Merciless code. Every ounce of power you can spare for the Merciless is required, because the weapon's talent binary trigger only buffs the 14th round once you achieve all 7 stacks, and only then do you get that explosion and amp damage. So weak build,
Weak binary trigger.
Fuck me.
which is why you only want to add as much weapon handling to this build as you absolutely need. For a semi-automatic, to get the most out of those high RPMs, you have to spam the trigger. Sadly, this only adds to the problems of the Merciless.
Which means the rifle's barrel is gonna take a walk through the sky.
That's true. Many don't realize how many of the shots are actually off the mark, which is why, understandably, that this weapon is often paired up with braced.
Don't do that.
If you do that, you'd not only be missing 2 critical damage talents, the chest and the weapon talent, but you're also going to be down damage mod slots the weapon so desperately needs. The attributes on the weapon are rifle damage, crit damage, and normally crit chance. We typically prefer damage to targets out of cover here, and now we can reroll exotics on the crafting bench to change this.
Thanks to Jesus.
Look at the mods: 10% accuracy, stability, reload, and 10% handling. Since handling encompasses everything, the Merciless already has 20% accuracy and stability on it. And those mods are in places we'd otherwise prefer crits, which means, again,
We're down more damage?
right you are. To break the Merciless code, you first must try to get inside the devs' heads.
Look out, it's crazy in there.
First, they gave us one of the fastest rifles in the game. Second, they chose to give us the crit damage attribute. Third, 20% weapon accuracy and stability is already a lot of weapon handling on any weapon. So to break the Merciless code, we have an elegantly simple yet powerful setup to make it perform like a dream. Let's get into the details. This build should be relatively easy to farm. Most of you might even have all of these pieces already. Let's start with the knee pads, the Fox's Prayers. Really great for rifles because it's designed for rifles. Overlord gives us 10% rifle damage, and we get that nice multiplicative damage to targets out of cover. I have critical hit damage and weapon damage. The gloves are the Eagle's Grasp, the new Zoo brand set they just released. This has given us 15% magazine size, 20% rifle damage, and I'm getting 30% weapon handling because I'm running all 3 pieces. The gloves also give us another 15% weapon handling, and we have 6% critical hit chance. The mask is my other piece of zoo. I have weapon damage and crits throughout, and the holster is the third piece. And guess what it looks like? All red. The backpack is Grupo for more crit hit damage, and then crits throughout, and I'm running Vigilance, which gives us increased total weapon damage by 25%. Taking damage disables this buff for 4 seconds. And the chest piece is Palisades with 1 armor core. You could also put weapon damage there if you like. I have crit damage and double crit chance and glass cannon. So you don't have a lot of good talents for rifles in this game. That's sad. I don't know why the devs have done this to us. But this rifle can't keep up with Obliterate, so don't use that. You could try to run Spotter, but you'd have to use some workarounds to get the pulse. There's Focus, but this doesn't have an 8x scope. So that leaves us with, really, Glass Cannon. So all damage you deal is amplified by 25%, which is really good damage. All damage you take is amplified by 50%, which is also really good damage on you. This is going to be a play from cover build. I tested it in Heroic and in Legendary, and it works like a beaut. Very powerful, and you're landing lots of shots, which is really important. So that's 10% armor on kill. And then I'm running Gunner, which is a change up thanks to the handling this gear brings to us. So when you stand still, this also gives you 10% handling, but that's not why I'm running it. It's actually for the armor on kill. So this build has amazing damage, critting at over 1.3 without team buffs, and 20% armor on kill. As far as skills, just go with whatever you like. I like the decoy because it allows me to stay out of cover longer, putting out shots. Helpful for glass cannon. For heroic, you can run a shield or a fixer. And legendary, you probably want to run a reviver hive because of that glass cannon and explosions. So quick damage test here. We're critting at over 1.3. Pretty strong. Amp damage at almost 8 million. And then there's the little explosion damage. So one of the questions you get on the Merciless is, hey, should I be rolling into things like Demolitionist and explosive damage? And my answer is no. Let's take a closer look. This weapon fires on trigger pull and release. If both bullets hit the same enemy, gain a stack. So accuracy, you need to land both shots. This is the only weapon with a binary trigger. It's very unique. At 7 stacks, shooting an enemy deals 500% amp damage and creates a 7-meter explosion dealing 500% weapon damage. Interesting, right? Now you can increase that damage with explosive damage, but you're not going to see big movements on it. Not movements that are worth it. It's more important that you get that explosion more often than trying to make more explosion damage the focus. In other words, this is actually a crit weapon. It requires multiple shots to kill enemies, and the explosion is more of a finisher act. Hear me out. The biggest reason why you don't want to focus on explosions is because you don't have any control of it. It's technically random. Yes, it's on every 14th hit, but you're not really in control of when that's going to happen. So for example, if your 14th hit is on a measly red guy that's about to die from a single bullet anyways, you just wasted all that explosive damage on a dude that didn't need it. It happens a lot, more than I like. So I sort of just pretend the explosion damage isn't there, but I love it when it applies to a group of enemies. The collateral damage from that explosion is pretty cool. So looking at the stats, these are important. So we have 58% crit chance, 135% crit hit damage. This can be a little bit higher. 80% headshot damage, 75% stability, 75% accuracy. So the mods are kicking in there. 55% weapon handling. We found this to be the perfect amount. Now I have run with less in previous Merciless builds, but this by far is the sweet spot. I do not recommend going any higher. There are ways to add more weapon handling on this build, but I don't recommend you actually do that. First of all, you're possibly going to get 10% more just by being still from Gunner, but that aside, 55% turns you into a laser beam. I gotta say, I hate this weapon. I've always despised the Merciless, and I had a blast using it. For the first time ever, I actually enjoyed using this weapon, and that makes me happy. The devs delivered us a lot of duds this season in the form of gear, but I'm really liking what I'm able to do with the Zoo brand set. And I don't like Breaking Point, but 2 pieces of Breaking Point is also very fun to try to work into many builds. It's given us more build diversity, and it's actually improving some weapons, making them actually usable. I know a lot of people that love the Merciless even before this season, and have always enjoyed using it. And I gotta say, even though I really enjoyed it and I ran it all day, I ran it in Legendary and Heroic and really had a blast using it, I still gotta say, it's not gonna be my favorite weapon, not even top 10, really. There are so many other ways to be even godlier in this game than with the Merciless, but you gotta try this Merciless build. It's a ton of fun. It's really cool to see those explosions. I think you're gonna enjoy it.
It absolutely wrecks. Brought to you by men with a mustache.
A mustache, if you
only got a mustache.
Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is Tuxedo Bandido. That's Tito Bandido.
What's crack-a-lackin'?
This was another episode of The Division 2. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The Division 2. And if you like builds like this, check out the recommended build video I have here for you. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
When you buy a game from Ubisoft, enter the creator code Tuxedo Bandido to support the channel. Easy peasy.
Follow me.
I get it.